My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Ghost of Tsushima, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about this game. Everything I've seen from it looked absolutely incredible. I heard the story was great, so I was actually really excited to check it out, and after playing it, I was indeed let down. Let's just address the elephant in the room though. I am not a fan of open world games. That's not always the case. Like, I do really enjoy the Batman Arkham games. I like the Spider-Man PS4 game. But more often than not, I'm disappointed in open world games. It's just when you have a world that's so big and expands, at an eventual point, it just becomes too much. And that's definitely the case here. Any bit of story and character that you do like gets lost in just how bloated this game is. Most of the main missions feel like side missions, and it just creates for an overlong game that you eventually get tired of. I always say that you should leave people wanting more, not less, and I wanted much less from this game. Like, this game took me 2 months to beat, and I just wanted way less of it. And when you look at how much story and character work is here, there's not nearly enough to justify that amount of time. Like I said, I heard amazing things about the story, and the way it begins really grabbed me right off the bat. Like, it begins with this invasion on the beach, and all of this stuff is going on. I'm just like, oh, this game's going to be great. But after that opening section, it then just goes for long stretches of time where nothing really happens. After I accomplish what I thought was the main goal of the game, all of a sudden it says Act 2, and I'm like, wait, what? Act? That usually means there's 3 acts. I'm only one sort of done? What? I didn't like seeing that on the screen at all. So then I did Act 2, and there's not much story there either, and when it ends, I'm just like, okay, I'm about to get to the big finale, and nope, they're dragging it out for another act. So then it says Act 3. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Just end already. Please, just end. And then it ends after Act 3. And each act has minimal story and character. So it's just like, why make it so long? It's long for the sake of it. And anything that I did like in that story gets lost in just how stretched out it is. Even if you look at Act 3, it begins with the darkest direction the story has, and it just feels like they did nothing with it. So story-wise, I found this game to be lacking in every possible way. I'll be going more in depth in a review next week, but that didn't work for me. And then you've got the characters. The main character, Jen Sakai, who, okay, anytime I heard his name, I just kept thinking of Jen Psaki, the old White House lady who I couldn't stand. That's who he reminded me of, just Jen Sakai, Jen Psaki, just very similar. But anyways, I do think he was a great character though. He's voiced incredibly well by Disaki Disjuji. I definitely mispronounced his name, but I love how at the beginning of this game, he's a man with a code. And I like how throughout the game, his world view, his code gets challenged time and time again just due to the circumstances of everything. And that was definitely the most compelling aspect of this game. And then you've got his uncle, Lord Shimura, and I like lots of the ideas they're going for with the two of them, but I don't really feel like they stuck the landing just because of how bloated the story is. Anything that was there gets eventually forgotten. Then you've also got all these other characters. One is named Wizzle, and I get what they're going for with him, but I feel like the actual impact of it is completely absent. I didn't care for him as a character. You've got Luna, who I found to be very bland, Taka, who did nothing for me, and then Kenji, who also did nothing for me. He only stands out because he's got a really annoying voice, and that's it. And the main villain just isn't present enough to really pose that much of a threat. So character-wise, with the exception of the main character and some of the ideas they're going for, the characters didn't really work for me. And then we go into the gameplay, and because it's an open world game, there's lots of exploring to be had. One thing you do have to do is you have to climb walks, and I didn't like the climbing in this game. Like if you play Uncharted, you move the left analog stick up and press X. But here you just move the left analog stick, and I just didn't like the feel of it. So whenever we had to climb, I didn't enjoy that. And tracking is overdone. It always feels the same when you just go to an area, you look down for some footprints, and you just track it for an absurd amount of time. And I was just like, okay, I'm so sick of these missions at this point. There's one mission where you have to find iron, and there's lots of iron at the camp you're at, but it's not the exact kind of iron you needed to find, so that was really frustrating. And this game also does something that Horizon Zero Dawn also did, which I hated, and it's the fact that whenever you're getting guided someplace, they don't take into account the amount of space you can't actually access. So you'll go one way, and then you'll be like, oh, I actually can't enter there. So then you have to go all around. And I found that to get really annoying after a little bit. And then there's this one mission where you have to find some white smoke, and the entire area is really foggy, so I thought that was really annoying. But I do like the feeling of riding your horse through the open fields. Eventually it loses its magic, but it's definitely there at the start. And the world is big. Even though I don't like how big it is, they clearly put lots of work into making this world as big as possible, so I have to give credit for that. Then you've got the actual combat of this game, and I do want to say that this game has got some terrific training. Like, I really found that it helped me a lot, and I kept getting better as the game progresses. As you actually start to realize how to switch between different stances and different weapons, after a while you feel like a real pro at it, and the actual combat is really fantastic. Like, I don't think I've ever played any other game with sword fighting besides the ending of Uncharted 4, but this is the best sword combat that will ever exist in a game, I'm sure of it. For the first little bit, it's just so satisfying to take down an enemy, like blocking, and then you hit them hard, and then you keep hitting them. It's really fun stuff. I didn't lose the long range weapons as much as I would have liked to, because you just forget about them, and you don't really get all too many opportunities for it. There are specific missions where you have to take over a fort or you have to rescue people, and those are some really fun missions, even though they do feel like side missions. There's this thing you can do where you stand off and you have to hold triangle and then let it go as soon as you start getting attacked, and it was fun for a little bit, but then I don't think I did it in the last two swords of this game at all. And every now and again you can come across a bear, and I never liked fighting them. I always thought it was overly difficult and really annoying. And I do have to point out something that I did not like about this game, and people are going to comment, Gavin, you just suck, Gavin, you're a pansy, and okay, they might be correct, but that's not what I'm going to say. What I'm going to say is that I understand that every game has more and more difficult enemies as the game progresses. So as you get more powerful, so do your enemies. But I think the last act of this game went way overboard to the point where I was not having fun. Like, every single enemy was just covered head to toe in armor. They had these poison arrows which were really annoying. So because of the armor, you couldn't hit them with a bow and arrow, making that weapon completely useless. And then it just got really redundant. It wasn't like, okay, like if you get a game like Last of Us 2, well, the enemies do get harder, they get dogs, there's all these other things that they use to make them harder, but it's a kind of gameplay that you can find other ways to go about it and approach them and attack them in many different ways and plant mines in a certain spot. So even though it gets harder, you can still get by it while having fun. While here, it's mainly head-on action, and it just made for some really frustrating gameplay, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm not having fun right now. I'm just keep hitting them time and time again and keep hitting them. It's just, I'm so sick of it. Really sick of it. And I really started to hate the boss fights. They all feel the exact same. They got very repetitive. They weren't ever fun. Didn't like it. The technical aspects of this game are really good. One thing I didn't mention about the open world is that I love that the wind guides you places. I thought that was a really unique way to lead you places. And the way the wind looks as it brushes across the trees and the grass looks absolutely phenomenal. The environment's all brought to life incredibly well. The water looks great, the fire looks great, the graphics all really impressive. But one thing I didn't like was the change in presentation whenever there was a cutscene. Like the fact that you're playing the game and then it feels like it pauses and then there's a cutscene in this new ratio just never worked for me. It just killed any bit of momentum that the game did have. Like if you take a game like Last of Us 2, once again, the flow from gameplay to cutscene and vice versa is absolutely seamless, and I absolutely love that. While here, they purposely draw attention to it, and it kept taking me out of the game, and I didn't like the way that the boss fights are always framed. There was a different look to it that was trying to make it look more cinematic, but I found it to be more frustrating to play. And actually, speaking of the cutscenes, even though the graphics are great when you're playing the game, and they're still good during the cutscenes, there is a decrease in quality in the cutscenes without a doubt. I also didn't like it how there's a few different parts where you have to swim someplace, and instead of showing you swimming, it just cuts to black, and then you just appear on the ship. And it's just something that I found really killed any bit of momentum once again. I did find this game to be kind of glitchy in moments where I couldn't control my guy at all. And I don't really like the dialogue choices within this game. Like you're talking to someone and you can choose one thing or the other. And if you have to choose yes or no and you pick yes, instead of saying yes, he'll kind of say less, but not really. And it's just, I don't like it when you have to choose your own dialogue, and I really don't like it when you do choose your own dialogue and they don't say exactly what you say. It just, I don't know, it's just something that's not needed. And one last thing I do want to mention about this game is that I love how culturally rich it is. You've got the shogun, the samurai, the Mongols, you've got these conflicting worldviews that feel true to the culture. You know, even the way the people talk, the food you see people eat, just everything about it feels very culturally rich, and I do like that aspect. But this game did disappoint me. I do love how culturally rich it is. I like the world that's on display. There's some amazing graphics. There's some great gameplay. And I do like the main character, Jin Sakai, and what they're going for with him and his uncle. But almost all the other characters were completely lacking. The gameplay does get repetitive after a certain point, and the cutscene presentation really didn't work for me. And just in how long and bloated this game is, everything I do like about it gets lost in just how much there is. There's not nearly enough story to justify the length of this game, and by the end, I just wanted it to be over as soon as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and give Ghost of Tsushima a 4 out of 10. I do know there were lots of people who wanted this game to win Game of the Year in 2020 over Last of Us Part 2, and just absolutely not. It's not even close. Last of Us Part 2 is better in every single way. Just not even a contest. But have you played Ghost of Tsushima? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.